We've all been there. You see these trailers for a movie, and it looks like the best thing you've ever seen. And you go to the theater, and it's amazing! And you're satisfied, right, for about a year or two, until you see the trailer for the sequel. And then you get so excited. And then you go to the theater on opening night, and then IMAX 3D with the popcorn and the candy and the soda, and you sit down and you're disappointed. That's what happens with a lot of sequels. They think they can just recycle the old movie, or they think the fans don't care. But we do. And we're important. But there are sequels that do better. They expand on the story, or they increase it, or they actually treat the main character as a person instead of just a way to make money. So here are the top 10 sequels. There we go. Top 10 sequels that are better than the original. Number 10, the original Star Wars trilogy. Yeah, I know this one's a bit of a stretch. The prequels were made after, but the sequel is in chronological order, and the originals are in chronological order after the prequels. So technically, the originals are the sequels to the prequels. And while I don't hate the prequels like the rest of the world seems to, I definitely think they can't compare to the originals. I don't hate Jar Jar, I think he's funny. I think the midi-chlorians were completely unnecessary and Anakin was completely whiny, but they weren't really bad movies. The originals were just so much better. Mr. Abrams is a loyal fan. Don't mess up these movies, thank you. Make these good, please. Zooming at the speed of light at number 9, we have The Avengers. Now I know once again this one is a bit of a stretch, but just hear me out. What is a sequel but a continuation of the story? And The Avengers is the continuation of the story of Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, Thor, Hawkeye, and Black Widow. Does it do it well? Yes, it does. So let's take this sequel to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's a sequel to 5 movies, and it does all very well. I like The Avengers. Number 8. The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. Now, all of the Lord of the Rings movies are great. There's no denying that. Everyone loves them. But The Return of the King is the finale. 7 hours. Well, 7 hours of movies as long as you're a true fan and you watch the extended versions like myself, you know. And then this, the finale to the greatest trilogy of all time. And that's why Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King is at number 8. Let's just hope the Hobbit movie comes close to being as good. You know, the next one isn't even coming out for another year. I know, Dark Sam, it's just an example. A bad example. You don't even like fantasy. No, but I like being mean to you. That's true. Number 7. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Now, I really like the first Harry Potter. It's definitely one of my favorites of the series. It's fun, it's whimsical, it's adventurous. It's by the same director of Home Alone, so, I mean, you know. Check it out. But just like with Lord of the Rings, this is a finale to 10 years of epic movies. They had to deliver, and did they deliver? Yes, they did. They did very well, very fun, very exciting. Harry married his best friend's sister. Awkward, yes. But everyone lived happily ever after. Except for them. Or those fine people, or, Darn you, Rowling. Of all the people you had to kill, why ruin the awesomeness that is Fred and George? Why, Rowling? Why? I can't. I'm gonna have to lie down for the next one. Number 6. Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows. Where do I begin? Well, for one thing, I really like how Moriarty can match Holmes on an intellectual level instead of just being an over-glorified Scooby-Doo villain like Blackwood was. But the main reason I think the sequel is superior is because you can actually understand what Holmes is saying. Listen to this part.
You're a governess.
Well done.
Yes, well done. Shall we? Waiter.
Your student. It's a boy of age.
Charlie's 7, actually.
Then he's tall for his age. He flicked and kid you today.
Is there ink on my face?
There's nothing wrong with your face.
There are 2 drops on your ear, in fact. India blue's nearly impossible to wash off. Anyway, very impetuous. Act but water. 2 stages, 3 countries, 5 4 you work with your neighbors. All your bells, diamonds, flawless, really hardly. Gents, guns. Oh, the on test on more. Holmes, you're engaged. Then it's on Paris, England, Sass, Justice, doesn't hold by proudly. Legends of the fall through,
That man is playing Gallagher.
Basically, what I'm trying to say is you can actually understand what Holmes is saying here.
I agree, it's not my best disguise, but let's make do.
Oh, I understand.
Dewey.
Terribly inconvenient.
Number 5. Superman 2. Right off the bat, I would like to say that I thought Man of Steel was a great movie. Had great effects, a pretty good story, and it actually explained where his costume came from, which the original movies never did. He's just like, hey, I'm Clark Kent, what's my identity? Hey, Fortress of Solitude, yeah, I'm Superman! But this list is about sequels, and I'm talking about Superman 2. Now, I do enjoy the original Superman film, but I think this movie is better, for the main reason being the villains. Zod and his cronies are fun. Not just because they're interesting characters, but because they're Kryptonians. So Superman doesn't have to play nice with them like he would with somebody like Lex Luthor. He can beat them, punch them, and have a big action scene that I'm sure was pretty big for the 80s, but kind of pales in comparison with Man of Steel. You know, it's, you know, buildings, stuff, and Man of Steel. Speaking of the potential for a newer version to do more, number 4, we have Tron Legacy. Now, I think the original Tron is a classic. It's a great movie. Sure, the effects are dated. Story is simplistic, almost non-existent, some may say, and the acting is, so-so, but, it's a good movie. I like it. But I'm talking about Tron Legacy, and this film does not only carry the story on in an awesome way, but those effects. Look at them. And also, Daft Punk did a great job with the soundtrack. I can't wait for the 3rd movie. It's gonna be good. Get to it, Disney. You know, this is proof that you hate money, apparently. Now, I know a lot of people prefer the new reboot to the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, and in some ways I can understand that. And I know Spider-Man 3 is universally hated, but I think Spider-Man 2 is one of the best superhero films I have ever seen. It has a great story, which I may add it took from the 50th issue of The Amazing Spider-Man. I mean, look how they even copied the shot there. That's cool. But the effects here were a lot better than the original, and I really like Doc Ock. He's one of my favorite superhero villains. The story is great too. There aren't many heroes that ever really wanted to completely just literally throw their superhero career in the trash just to be a normal person. Except for Superman and Superman 2, except he didn't do it literally. No, he didn't. And Aunt May's hero speech. Oh my gosh.
I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us noble, and finally allows us to die with pride, even though sometimes we have to be steady and give up the thing we want the most. even our dreams.
Number 2, Toy Story 3. What can I say about this movie that hasn't been said already? It makes you happy, makes you sad, makes you think about how you're growing up and how you have grown up with these characters. And that ending when Andy drives off to college, it's emotional. It's a great movie. You know, Toy Story 3 is great. It's one of Pixar's best. Far to the top, really. Definitely better than the first two, and it's sad. Fred and George. Fred, you were so young. I'm gonna have to go my down a bit more. Now time for my number 1 sequel that is better than the original, Kung Fu Panda 2. Now I'm sure this is kind of an odd one for the list, not exactly really a well-known sequel. I mean, it's a great movie, a lot of people like it. But why is it so awesome? Well, for starters, because of the increasing amount of technology, they can do more with the movie, like have huge places like Gangnam City that was huge and had a great landscape and everything. Now, while I would understand why they would want a more basic villain for the first movie because it's Poe's story, I really like Lord Shen as a villain. I really like how Lord Shen has a connection to Poe's past and can fight him on an emotional level instead of just physical. He's an awesome villain, and that he has so much pain from his own past that he like imparts it on the Poe. That's like really deep and mature for a kids movie. But the biggest reason I like this film better is the climax. In the original film, when Tai Lung fought Shifu, it was awesome. The animation was cool, it was dark, it was exciting, you felt like the pain in that part. And Poe showed up, and it turned into a Roadrunner cartoon. Now, I like the Roadrunner. It's great, it's hilarious, it's a classic. But it's not a climax to a movie. Now, we get Kung Fu Panda 2, and that has a much better climax. It weaves the moral of the story, makes it come full circle, and the first one does that too, but the second really takes itself more seriously. It's silly for sure, but it's a lot more serious than the first film. I also really like the moral in the second one better, is that it doesn't matter what your past is, you still choose who you are in life. I really like that moral, and I think the original one, that everyone has potential to be great, I really like that moral too, but I really think the first one is something not really seen much in, once again, kids films. So that's my list of top 10 sequels that are better than the original. See, hey, you forgot mine. What is it, Dark Sam? Isn't it obvious? The Dark Knight. That's a great sequel, for once we agree. Honorable mention, The Dark Knight. See ya, Fred Weasley. I'm so bad. He's so majestic in a way. And I also really like how the moral in the second one is about that. So that's my list of top 10. What can numbered? But Return of the King is the finale to 7 But The Return of the King is the finale to 12. No, I did get it right. But The Lord of the Ring. But it's. Lost my train of thought. It has a great story, which I might add they took from the 50th issue. And while I would understand why they would want a more basic villain for the first movie, because it was mostly Poe's story, I really like Tai Lung as a villain. I think he's great. I meant Lord Shen, not Tai Lung. Tai Lung is the basic villain, yeah. Okay. Now why I would understand...